Hi, Alex here with Reality Checks on MGTOW. This is Post 2, Part 4, Does She Love Me? The Reality Checks on MGTOW channel attempts to answer the question, is what MGTOW says about the nature of women and the nature of relationships between men and women a credible account? So, where are we now? In the last post, Part 3 of Post 2, I reiterated the conclusion that my, so to speak, girlfriend of 5 years fitted perfectly with the MGTOW analysis, but that wasn't the end of the story. The analysis may be biased, it may be true, yet the relationship is still both normal and functional, and there may be many other perspectives we can look at the relationship from. It's now been 2 months since I started this channel. It's also been 2 months since I last saw my girlfriend. I can say without any doubt that MGTOW has influenced the way in which I'm looking at the relationship, and it's given me the confidence to at least take a break while I consider whether or not to go my own way. In this post, I start to look at some of the other perspectives on the relationship and see where they take me. I start with the perspective of love. Here's what the MGTOW community have to say about it. Sandman, reference 29, who I take to be a MGTOW thought leader, acknowledges the existence of love, but sees it as an interference with getting what he wants. Wanting love itself just leads to hurt, so he's given up on that. Women don't love men and can generally move on when they want. For Sandman, love is closely associated with physical attraction, so he started dating less attractive women, making it easier to end the relationship with them. TFM, reference 30, says that his video, MGTOW She'll Never Love You, Special Edition, is by far his most popular, over 50k views. His scientific approach looks at the relationship between men and women mainly in terms of biology and evolution, but also dips into brain structures and brain chemistry. The simple story is that women will never love you because they're interested in their children, i.e. a biological urge to reproduce and nurture, and men are only a means to that end. Howard Dare, reference 31, discusses the cycle of love that progresses in stages from being happy on your own to falling in love, then falling out of love. The trouble is that men cling on to the hormonal need for love, become attached, while women don't. I like the MGTOW analysis because I find the biological evolutionary imperative convincing. It's coherent and accounts for the evidence of everyday experience. I'm still not sure how it impacts on my own relationship or whether it implies that men and women can't get along together or love, but it does make sense. So, to continue the analysis, I now look at other accounts of love, including erotic love, unconditional love, conditional love, romantic love, and the various forms of love defined by the ancient Greeks. However well my relationship fits with the MGTOW analysis, a lot could be forgiven, as it were, if she loved me. So the question is, does she love me? I can hear the MGTOW community falling off their seats and rolling on the floor laughing and shouting, "Are you insane? Of course she doesn't fucking love you." Well, I can take that, but my systematic and analytic male brain forces me to go through the motions of applying a more rigorous test. After all, when women consider this question after hearing my own account, at least half will say, yes she does. Are they all in it together? Before addressing this age-old question of love, let's first consider whether it would be reasonable to expect love in the first place, and without doing a long and agonizing analysis of what love is, just skim over a few concepts to establish the language in which we can talk about love. First, let's establish that the word love is used in many different ways these days. It can mean anything from the unconditional love a parent gives a child, to the romantic sexual love between adults in any sexual combination, through to more conditional forms of love, and love used in just a throwaway sort of way, like "I love cake" or your boring photograph of a landscape on social media. Some say that a mark of true love is that it's something you can't help, it's out of control. You don't choose to be in love, it just takes you over. One effect of love is to attract you towards the object of your love, and you'll do anything to be with that loved one. But romantic love, especially in marriage, is something of a modern concept. In other cultures, marriage partnerships are arranged, usually on a pragmatic basis, to make the farming of adjoining pieces of land more efficient, for example, reference 32. And of course, the word love can be used dishonestly, or to persuade or encourage, to engender feelings of guilt and obligation. So, there's a wide spectrum of usage. The ancient Greeks had a better idea. According to the ancient Greeks, there are between 4 and 7 types of love, depending on which source you consult, and each type has its own word. So, to go back to the specific case of my girlfriend, physically I'm drawn to her more than I am to any other woman. This means that either I can't help it, or I'm getting something of value that would be difficult to get otherwise. For the most part, she doesn't withhold physical intimacy, unless I don't perform my part of the bargain of providing help and support. So, I'm either a slave to sex, or, as I prefer to think about it, since my sexual nature is a given, that I cannot or do not choose to control, I'm a party to a trading arrangement where I perceive myself to get fair value, and which in principle is open to negotiation. MGTOW describes 4 types of love and friendship identified by the ancient Greeks, reference 33. We've already dealt with 2 of them, that's erotic love and love based on trade for mutual benefit. Then there's love based on shared interest, which the Greeks call philia, and love based on shared values, which the Greeks call agape. I believe she and I also have both of these. My girlfriend and I both have an interest in society and the individual within society. She's doing some advanced studies and I help her a lot with her work in return for the benefit of being introduced to new concepts and techniques. And she's teaching me in the sense that she's in contact with the real-world application of these concepts and provides the data on which these theoretical perspectives can be understood and tested. However, and interestingly, she'll flatly refuse to discuss our own relationship in terms of these concepts, or at all. Hence, I write this to vent my own desire to discuss it. As for shared values, we both have sympathy for the disadvantaged, the underdog, and the oppressed. We're closely aligned in our political views, and as time goes by, she moves closer and closer to my own position, although I put this down to her progressive integration into her work culture rather than anything to do with me. I've even seen some of her religious dogma shift over the years as she confronts the incompatibility of some of these with social values arising out of her work and education. This table lists the full set of 7 Greek terms for love, and my view as to both her and my own take on whether we have that form of love. This table is revealing, not just because it suggests that there's a reasonable basis for the relationship, but also because it makes me think. Is there a trading benefit, erotic love in return for resources? This is what the MGTOW community would say. Or is it that this is what she wants it to be, while I want the trade to be erotic love in return for some other form of love, and that this is where some of our problems lie? I want to be valued for myself, but she values me for my resources, and that's what irks. On the other hand, maybe I just want to part with as few resources as I can get away with. Well, as usual, I want to keep this posting as short as possible, so I'll have to defer addressing some of the other approaches, like considering inconsistencies in her behaviour, similarities and differences in belief, the psychological impact of early experience, and the economics of social exchange theory. Also, the questions of bias sampling and what's normal in a relationship are still outstanding. But, to sum up here, what is the answer to the question, does she love me? It would be too easy to say, I still have no idea. But that's not far from the truth. My instinct is that she does, in a conditional and dependent way. But, as with all relationships, this has changed over time. When we met, she had a great need to find somebody that would help her in her life. She needed somebody that could help her with her work, somebody reliable she could depend on, somebody to show her the things and take her places she would not otherwise have had the opportunity to see, and somebody to provide resources to ease the financial pressure on her. But as time has passed, she's become more independent. She can continue to study, but the main work is done. She now has a job and a car. She has learnt enough to do her own thing. In other words, unless I can step up on providing, she doesn't really need me any longer. What's more, she has a good deal of that deadly sin called pride, the excessive belief in her own abilities that interferes with the individual recognition of the grace of God. which I interpret for the moment as being the importance of sheer chance and circumstance to affect one's destiny. It is said that pride is the gateway through which all other sins enter. I believe that the pattern is much the same each time we break up. At first she's fine with it, then she starts to feel bad about it because it really is more difficult without me, but stubbornly she'll not admit that to herself, so it's me that has to make the first move, and when I do, she's happy and relieved, comes back for a while, starts to take advantage, I get angry, and she goes again. Also, I think she has some genuine dilemmas when it comes to me. If she really does have a betrothed, then I'm okay for now, but not forever. And if she really does believe in the scriptures of the church, then she's definitely sinning. Basically, the whole show is awkward for her, and whatever she feels, if the returns aren't sufficient, then so what? It's out of the window. But of course, despite her enthusiasm to never let me know her thoughts or feelings about the relationship, she knows underneath that I know all of this, and I manage it. What would be interesting is if I couldn't manage it, and I was really in trouble over it, what would her reaction be then? Would she come running back, seeing that I needed her? Would she just walk off into the sunset? That's the question. And while I suspect she is heading for the evening sun, I can't be sure.